Moving to Paris is a lot of people's dream, and maybe it's yours too, but one of the hardest parts is finding a place to rent. What makes it even harder? Doing it when you're not actually here or you don't know the city very well yet. So most likely, you're going to do exactly what we did. Get online, either early in the morning or late at night, when the world is quieted down enough that you have the luxury of being able to go down a lot of rabbit holes on the internet and search for a place. By the way, if you think you know a better way, we would love to hear about it in the comments and learn from your wisdom, so please share. We'll look at 6 different neighborhoods. 4 are in the central city, and then 2 are suburbs, and you'll get a pretty good sense of what's out there. We're going to use a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom furnished apartment as our base of comparison for this video for reasons that will be obvious as we dig into this a little bit more. This will give you some sense of what the baseline is that you could move into. It's ready for you to show up with your suitcases and your personal baggage as well. The 6 spots we're going to look at specifically today are Le Marais, which is in the 4th arrondissement. That is central, it's historic, and it can be kind of expensive. Next up is Montmartre, which is in the 18th. That has a little bit more of a bohemian vibe. There's some really cool landmarks, and it can be a great spot. Next, we'll look at Belleville, which is in the 20th district. That has a very multicultural kind of creative energy to it. The legit Chinatown is there, according to most people. And if you've ever seen the movie The Triplets of Belleville, well, that's what they're referring to. That's where they lived. Then we'll head uptown in more ways than one and visit the Champs-Élysées, which is in the 8th district. This is ultra high-end luxury, and boy, do the prices reflect it. These 4 are all in different parts of central Paris, but then we'll look at 2 suburbs. We will look at Boulogne-Billancourt, which is in the 16th district. This is a very family-friendly and somewhat affluent suburb. It is still technically the city of Paris, but it's in the 16th, so it's getting into a little bit more of a suburban feel. And lastly, we'll visit a suburb that is near and dear to my heart. That is Joinville-le-Pont, which is where we live. This is a suburb to the southeast of Paris proper. It's only about 2 stops on the RER A train to get into Paris, but it feels like a different world here in mostly good ways. And as we're scouting the different neighborhoods, I'll also be introducing you to the different search portals I'm using along the way and show you how to tailor it to what you need to do. So we'll start with Le Marais in the 4th district, and we will begin using SeLoger, which is one of the most popular online platforms for buying or renting places. Now I'm going to assume that you know at least some basic French, but I will say every keyword at least once so that we're all clear. So up here at the top, this word acheter means to buy. We're not looking to buy, we want to rent, which is this word here, and you often see it loyer. And so you go under apartment or maison, which is a house, is a maison. So under loyer, first you put in the postal code. Now in Paris, the postal codes start 750, and then the last 2 digits are the district. So in this case, 75004, which gives us the 4th district of Paris. They have 132 houses or apartments. We are going to choose apartments. Specifically, we're going to leave budget minimums and maximums blank, but under PS, which means pieces or rooms, we're going to choose 2, and I'll explain why here in a moment. Under chambre, which means bedroom, this is where we put in 1. I'm also going to put in maximum of 1, so that we're comparing apples to apples as we go. I will leave the surface minimum and maximums alone. You will notice that there are checkboxes for other characteristics. If you need parking or garage, you want a garden or a balcony, etc. Some of the websites have a checkbox for an elevator or not. You will notice, looking down here, that before I check elevator, there are 45 options. If I click elevator, that drops us down to 17. So we'll leave that unchecked for now so that you see the most options. And etage is floor. So either top floor, ground floor, or other floors. We will select all. I don't care about what year it was constructed or the energy rating for now. I care if I'm renting it, but I don't care for the sake of this search. We will leave the rest of these alone, and I will hit go. Okay, so as of today, SeLoger has 45 apartments for rent in the 4th district of Paris using our search terms. And if you need to change this for your own situation, go over here to the filters tab and you can change the number of rooms or bedrooms, minimum or maximum surface area, any of these amenities, if you need an elevator, etc. But for now, we're leaving it as is. So under this button, you can filter your selection. Now we want to go to prix croissant, which does not mean the price of bread, although that's a good guess. That means ascending price, from cheapest to most expensive. So looking at this, the cheapest thing they have is 1,210 euros, and it's 26 square meters. Let's take a look, shall we? So this is a very small one-bedroom apartment. It may be perfect for you if you're a single person, but this is the least expensive thing they have on their website. You'll see lots of different styles. Some of these have a lot of character. This is a loft, which looks kind of cool. Now, one thing I noticed about a listing like this right away is they lead with the picture of the giant staircase, which tells me that you're going to be walking up a lot of stairs here. Maybe not the most inspiring place I've seen, but, you know, it's got potential. Okay, so that's the low end of prices on SeLoger for this district. Now let's go back and look at the high end. We go back to this tab and we click Price de Croissant. And this shows you the fancy stuff. Wow, I like this. 19,000 euros a month I don't like. 3 pièces, meaning 3 rooms, 1 bedroom, 65 square meters, 19,244 euros. Wow. This is fancy. Oh, and it's got a view of Notre Dame. Okay, there's where part of that price is coming in. Ooh, fancy kitchen. That place looks great. I better click off of this before I get tempted to rob a bank or something. Okay, this is still a little expensive for my budget, but this is a little more down to earth. 4,200 a month. That's nice. Wow. Again, 3 rooms, 1 bedroom, 64 square meters. It's on the 3rd floor, which is the 4th floor in American. Oh, it's a nice view. Look at that. Yeah, this is pretty. Wow. And down here, there's a sponsored listing, which is a little more of what I would expect for this price range in this neighborhood. This is pretty cool. Now, this is up on the top floor. You can tell from the architecture here. So you're going to be walking up a lot of stairs, most likely. So when you scroll down, you see that it says pas d'ascenseur, which means no elevator. And it's on the 6th floor. Now, again, one note, if you're American, you think that the 1st floor is the floor you walk in on, the ground floor. Nope. That is the rez-de-chaussée. The 1st floor is the one above that. This means this is 7 flights up. So that's a lot of walking. It's a pretty place, though. Okay, so let's look at another website that might have something for us. Let's check out Morning Croissant. So their site is also pretty straightforward. You want to choose your ville. In this case, we're going to put 75004. We select that here. Duration, we will choose un an et plus, which means more than 1 year. And we will put 1 locataire, which means 1 person renting. I think I can leave debut, meaning when do you start. I think I can leave that blank and get more results. I did. So let's go up under more filters and we will choose furnished, which is meuble. We will choose apartment. We will choose how many bedrooms, 1, and how many beds, 1. We will leave the rest of these unchecked to get the most results and hit go. Now let's search least to most expensive. First, go over here, loyer Croissant. Okay, and we will skip the ones that say 1 PS because that means studio, as these actually tell you in the description. Okay, so the first one we see that says 2 PSs, this is exciting. 995 euros, 1 bedroom, 2 rooms. But look, this is a tricky thing you have to be careful of here. We put in this specific zip code, but guess what? This is nowhere near that zip code. They're showing you things that are similar. What that tells me is that Morning Croissant does not have anything in this area, at least nothing in our price range or in our filters. When that happens, it's because they don't have anything that meets your filter criteria in that specific location. So let's look someplace else. To continue our search in the 4th, we'll go to Paris Attitude. Paris Attitude specializes in furnished rentals, and their stuff tends to be pretty nice. I have actually rented from them before, not sponsored. So we will search for the 4th district of Paris. I will leave these, how long in and outs, I will leave that unchecked so we get the most results. Now let's go up here to the filter button, and on their website, under number of rooms, let's just choose 1. And yes, we want a bathroom, of course. Let's just choose 1 because it's a little quirk. Normally, this means total rooms. In this case, it gets confused about rooms or bedrooms. We will choose apartment and see 95 choices. Okay, now this is more like it. You will notice that their map shows lots of things that are all in the actual 4th district. So we will sort by price, low to high. And one side note is that because I've used all these websites before, the ones that have an English language option available, remember that about me because of the miracle of cookies. That's why you're seeing English on some of them. So a quick scan of the list shows us that most of these listings are indeed in some part of the Paris 4th district, which is what we wanted. Let's go up here and sort by price, low to high. And so we will skip the studios and go to the 1-bedrooms. Okay, so this is the least expensive 1-bedroom they have. Wow, that looks pretty fancy. And it's by the Centre Georges Pompidou, which is very cool. That is a great museum. These photos are wonderful. Look how artistic this apartment is. 1,290 euros for this. That is cool. Wow, I love that shower. And as with any rental website, let's scroll down and get some more information, shall we? So it's 25 square meters. It's a 2-room apartment, meaning the main room, which is kind of everything except the bedroom, and then the bedroom itself. It is on the 6th floor. It says it can accommodate 1 person. Yes, it is pretty small, but it's very nice. Now, under amenities, hey, it comes really nicely furnished, and it does have a lift, so you don't have to walk up all those stairs. And there are more amenities we could check if we're interested, but this is pretty cool. If I was a single person, this would be right up my alley, but I'm happy that I'm not. Now let's go back up and search from price high to low and see what the high end is. Wow. Okay, look at this. Now we are getting into something fancy. 40 square meters. They have a big patio outside. This is in the Bastille district. 40 square meters, 2-room apartment, 6th floor. Ooh, that's a balcony patio is what that is, and can accommodate 4 people. That bedroom's hilarious. So with the bed facing the skylight like that, I guess there's a little chance that you're going to oversleep as long as you have your curtains open. That's pretty crazy. This is a nice place, though. I like it. So even just a casual scroll of the listing shows you that they have much nicer places available here, and the prices reflect it. But the level of furnishing and quality is pretty high end. Since we're in Paris attitude, and I think this is a good place to start, let's look at Montmartre next. Montmartre is the 18th arrondissement, so that zip code is 75018. And the rest of our filters stay the same, so this shows us what our options are. We will search price low to high, and we will skip studios. We see that they have a 1-bedroom, which is 20 square meters available, and that looks like this. It's a 2-room, 1-bedroom apartment. It's on the 1st floor of a 19th century building without an elevator, which means that you are walking up 2 flights of stairs. This is pretty typical for what you get for this amount of money. So let's search high to low and see what we get. In the interest of time, I'm going to choose the lowest priced and the highest priced that fit our range, unless the outlier is so crazy that I have to show you something that's a little more representative. Okay, so this bedroom, 57 square meters, $28.50 a month. This looks pretty nice. It says it is on the 2nd floor. I don't see it mention an elevator, which means there's no elevator. Okay, so this is a 57 square meter 1-bedroom apartment, and it is located in a 19th century residence, Villa des Platins, which tells me right away there is no elevator. I am pretty sure. Let's take a peek. Amenities, nope. But it's only the 2nd floor. That place is pretty nice, so if it's in your price range, it might be worth walking up a couple of flights of stairs every day. Okay, so at Morning Croissant, let's type in 75018, and our filters are the same from before. And you have a few options, but studio, etc., they don't have very many options, so that tells me that we want to look elsewhere. We might have better luck looking on a site called PAP, Particular à Particulier, which is direct rentals from the owner. So PAP's website is pretty friendly. You'll notice there is no English drop-down, but we know that this is the rental, and I am a renter is what that says in French. So where do we want to go? I've looked at the 4th before. Let's go to the 18th, 75018. And we want an apartment, two pièces, 1 chambre. I do not want to create an email alert. You might want to do that though. And here's what they have available for you. Now, like all the websites, they have a filters button. Here it says de critères, which means the criteria. So you can make your choices as needed here. If you need an elevator, if you want to be on an upper or lower floor, you need parking, etc., you can do all that right there. So as much as I like this website, you'll notice that they don't have that handy sort by price option. So we're going to scroll down. There was one that I had my eye on earlier that is on the lower end. And it's pretty typical of what you get for this price range. So a lot of character, very cute, just very small. Now, because PAP specializes in actual owners renting directly, you will typically find a lot of options for people who are renting out the first place they were able to buy and now they have moved on. And so you can find some pretty good deals and it's a good quality site. While we're in PAP, let's actually pop up here and look at the 20th. Let's move over to Belleville. So we have the same search criteria, and here is a sample of what they have available. I'm actually spending a fair amount of time on each of these sites looking around at different apartments, but I won't take you through all of that in real time. I'll let you do your own search. I just want to show you how to fish, to use the metaphor. But I will highlight a couple of these listings to give you an idea of what they have available. For 1,990 euros, this is a 77 square meter apartment. Now on the surface, for example, this place looks like it has some potential. It's pretty big for the price, but look down here in the description. It mentions that it is in an ancien immeuble industriel. That means it is in an old industrial building and a quartier vivant, proche du métro Montmartre. My pronunciation of that has been better, but I don't know if it's ever been worse. What I will say is that lively quarter and being near the metro tells you this is not a quiet place to live, and it's in an old building. So whatever floor it's on, don't expect an elevator, don't expect real modern amenities, and there might be people who've been there for 30 years and the place could be falling down, or it could be lovely. That's the tricky part. Let's pop back over to SeLoger and see if they have anything for us in Belleville. We will choose price low to high again. 700 euros a month. That's pretty nice for 700 euros a month. What's the catch? Well, it's small. It's 27 square meters. This is nice. Situé au rez-de-chaussée means it is on the ground floor. A résidence sécurisée, that means it is a secured residence. So they have some kind of an entry-exit situation. And it has what they like to call a cuisine américaine, meaning an American-style kitchen. Now, there are only 2 photos. That's the tricky part. And it says it's 2 rooms, 1 bedroom, but there are only 2 photos on the listing. Where's the bedroom? I'm going to want to see the bedroom. So it looks nice, but it's pretty promising that there's something that, at least on the surface, looks like it might be a pretty good deal for the price. Let's look a little more, though. Going back to their listing page, you'll see that this area is not very high end. They have a lot of things that are all under 1,000 euros a month. Wow, somebody's a hoarder. Let's search by the higher end stuff. At the very high end, SeLoger has something that's 3,400 euros a month. There's only the 1 photo though. It's an open space loft. So they're showing you the bed itself, but this tells me that the rest of the room is also visible. So that's a shitty one. So without looking at each of these listings individually, you can tell that their high end is still not that expensive as compared to some of the other areas we've already looked. Now for the Champs-Élysées, we'll go back to Paris Attitude and see what they have. I suspect they will have a few good options for us here. And we will sort by price low to high. So you see, just looking at the cheapest listing, there's a 20 square meter 1 bedroom for $1,160 a month, and they go up from there. Let's search high to low. Okay, $5,500 for an 83 square meter. Okay, so the high end of Paris Attitude's listing for Champs-Élysées is this 83 square meter apartment. It is in the Parc Monceau area, which is very nice indeed. Avenue Hoche, very, very nice. They do have a lift in the building. It looks like it's very well equipped. As we keep scrolling down, it mentions they have a king-size double bed, which means 2 double beds pushed together turns into a king. Looking at a few of the photos, we can see that this is indeed very stylish. This is what you do if you have some money. That's a nice looking bedroom to me. This place is pretty fancy. But if we're going to look in the Champs-Élysées, it's time to introduce you to my favorite website for a little fantasy voyage in what could be one day if I win the lottery. And that is the website Residences Immobilier, the ultimate in luxury real estate. Now, this is a buying and selling website and rentals. So we want to go down here to get in the portal. We want to click that I want to rent a house or apartment in France. And we do want to choose France. We'll choose the specific location, 75008. And do you think they have some listings? They do. Wow. You notice they don't have rentals. They have exceptional properties, and they are pretty exceptional. Let's take a quick peek at a few of these, and you can dream along with me. So they do have a search bar, and we will sort by price ascending. So the cheapest place they have is a tiny one-bedroom apartment that's $18.50 a month. It is near the George V metro station. It is very minimally furnished. So this is pretty bare bones. Now this website, as they specialize in luxury properties, doesn't have a lot on kind of the lower end that us mere mortals can afford. But let's look at the cheapest thing they have that is kind of nice and fully furnished. So this caught my eye at first glance, but it is a studio. It is a very, very nice studio for 2,700 euros a month, and it is on Avenue Montaigne in the George V district, which is incredibly nice. But this one is a proper one bedroom for 3,030 euros a month. This is what 3,030 euros a month will get you in Paris. So they often describe places like this as having a hotel suite elegance, American kitchen, etc., and you can really see the difference. Now notice that at the bottom, they break all this out for you. The other sites do to some degree as well, but let's actually focus on it here. They tell you what you're going to pay and specifically what you're going to need to move in. So when you scroll down to the further details page here, you see that the base rent is actually 3,200 euros per month, but there is a 170 euro charge recoverable, which means that it's basically a discount. And that's how you end up with 3,030 as the actual rental that you pay. Now notice the guaranteed deposit is twice the monthly rent. It is 6,060 euros. So the fees that are paid by the tenant is 3,200 euros. And then there's an inventory fee of 1,000 euros. What that means is that the fee for the agent to go through with you and exhaustively check every nook and cranny and corner and area of every wall and surface and counter, etc., then find any damages and make notes of it, take photos for when you move out and you want your security deposit back, they charge you 1,000 euros for that privilege. Welcome to the high life, folks. Okay, for fun though, let's go back up top and let's search by price descending. Okay, now we're talking. So we're getting up into the rarefied air here. If you can afford this, you're probably not watching my video to learn how to do it. You probably have someone helping you, but for the rest of us, let's go along for the ride, okay? This is pretty cool. Okay, so this is technically the most expensive place, but this isn't really kind of my vibe, though it is nice. Let's look at this. Ooh, pretty. Wow, look at that. Okay, so this is 16,900 euros a month. And we had selected one bedroom, one bath, but this is a 3-bedroom, including a royal suite with a double XL dressing room, 2 bathrooms, and a private shower room, 3 toilets, and a laundry room, etc., etc., etc. So this is probably out of most of our price ranges, but this is the closest to a little late-night Zillow session that you might get in America as you're going to find here in France. So enjoy Residences Immobilier if you want to do a little bit of a tour and some wish casting yourself. But let's move on to another area which is also nice, not quite as expensive as the 8th, but pretty sweet, which is the 16th, and specifically Boulogne-Billancourt. So since this website is probably the peak for finding higher end things, let's go back up here and just type in 75016. And there's specifically Boulogne-Billancourt, which overlaps 2 different districts. We're going to stay in the 16th for now. 100,000 euros, 19 main rooms. Okay, that place is so nice that if it's 100,000 euros a month, they don't even need to show you any pictures because we don't deserve to see it. That's how nice that place is. I skipped over this when I first went to the website, but what you'll notice is they don't have a checkbox for number of bedrooms and bathrooms and such. They do have a surface area checkbox, and under the keywords, you can add in things that you might want, like say a piscine for like a pool at your house. That's the kind of places you find on here. But let's scroll down. So we will look and we will go again to ascending price, which is where we will find by definition the smallest places. Okay, so here is a 1-bedroom place in the 16th district, 40 square meters, 2,000 euros a month. And they have a few options. So as fancy as this website is, they do have a few options that are comparable to the prices we've seen on other sites. So for instance, this is the least expensive. This is a 2-room, 1-bedroom apartment in the 16th district. It's 40 square meters and it has a lovely 8 square meter terrace offering a pleasant outdoor space. It's a very small bedroom, but it does have a nice view and a nice little terrace for what it is. So that's just one example of something that's more affordable on that website. There are more on the page. And I think the lesson that I want to share here is don't be afraid to search even the higher end websites like that, because the rich people who own those multi-million euro mansions that they're renting for 20 or 30,000 euros a month, they also have first apartments that they maybe own for years that they also rent out, and they use the same agency or the same site at least to list it. And what I will tell you from having visited some of those myself in person is that they do tend to be better cared for than something equivalent that is, that you find someplace else. So don't be afraid to look on the fancier website, even if your budget is more modest, because you might find something pretty cool. But to see what else people are renting around the Champs-Élysées area, let's go back to PAP and see if we have any private owners who are directly leasing their place. We go back to the rental tab. In this case, we put in 75008. Our other terms are the same as before from our last search. Okay, so it looks like we have some options. But notice they're actually showing us things that are not just, so this is in the 8th. That one was in the 17th. So 17th, 18th. So this is showing us a lot of things that says it's like 1 kilometer from the 8th district, but it's not the actual 8th district. So that's actually not uncommon. Sometimes a given site will not have any listings, or at least not very many, exactly where you want or exactly what you want in your filters, but they'll show you things that are very similar or very close by. Maybe you were looking in the 8th because your job is there, but then the nearest place that you can rent is actually in an adjacent district. That's only 1 kilometer away, for instance, that one apartment that I looked at for a second. And that would be a very quick walk. So unless you have mobility issues, it would only take a few minutes to get there possibly. It's always possible that you may need to expand your search to accommodate your desires within your given budget. Lastly, for this overview, let's actually look in the city where Susie and I live, which is Joinville-le-Pont. We will go back to SeLoger for this because I can tell you right now that Residences Immobilier has nothing listed here. Although there's some nice places, they tend to be people who are going to live there forever and then sell the house. They're not available for rent. So again, on SeLoger, we go up here to this tab. We go to Apartment aux Maisons. And then we're going to new search because this is a new place. I'm going to put in my exact zip code, which is Joinville-le-Pont. And then look at this. 54 houses or apartments for rent. Let's choose apartments specifically and double check that we have pièces. We'll say 2, chambre 1, and we'll put maximum 1 to make sure that we don't get something crazy. So those filters show us 23 apartments for rent in my very specific city. They may be in a different neighborhood in this city, but let's filter from low price to high price. That is unfurnished, 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 unfurnished. Okay, so for under 1,000 euros, you can get a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment in my city where I am now, and that's pretty reasonable. So searching price high to low, you see that the most expensive 1-bedroom apartment in my city that they have available is only 1,450 euros. In my opinion, this has some character to it. Looks like a small but kind of nice and modernized kitchen. And bedroom looks pretty big. It's kind of an older building, but hey, older buildings mean big closets. I'm not mad at that. Okay, this is a whole lot of French to read or translate, but what I can tell you at a glance is that this is probably a pretty reasonable place for the money. Now, when you scroll down, it's an older building, so you will see that it does kind of poorly on energy performance, and this shows you what you need to move in. So the rent is $14.50 a month. There's 50 euros a month of charges that you pay. And then the security deposit is 2,800 euros. So it's basically this minus this times 2 is your security deposit. Now, what's really crazy is it is actually somewhere in this district right next to where we live. Don't be weird and stalk us though. So before we leave my neck of the woods and wrap this video up, let's pop to one other website and see what they have available. And we'll also look and see what some of the bigger housing options are in case this one bedroom, one bath thing is just not going to cut it for you. So searching my neighborhood on Morning Croissant from the lowest price, you see that there are a lot of options that are around 1,000 euros, give or take 100 or 200. So lots of options there, but let's expand this out a little bit. Let's actually change our filters and choose house or apartment. Let's say 3 bedrooms and at least 3 beds. So searching for family homes on Morning Croissant, we see that they actually don't have any listings, at least on their website, in my specific city, but they do have one in Champigny-sur-Marne, which is where we used to live, and let's check that out. They are calling it Appartement Zen, à 30 minutes de Paris. So this is a 4-room, 67 square meter apartment. It has 3 bedrooms. Scrolling down to the details, you see that it is on the 4th floor, which means the 5th floor if you're American. But if you keep scrolling down, it says access handicap no, meaning not handicapped accessible, which means it probably does not have an elevator. And I am correct. You scroll down to équipement or equipments, and the ascenseur, which is the elevator, that is not an option. So you got to walk up 5 flights of stairs for this place. But what's it look like inside? The one advantage of being on a high floor is you do have a pretty nice view of the sky. Okay, so let's do a quick recap of the 6 different neighborhoods we visited today. First, La Marais. It is in the historic center of Paris. It has charming cobbled streets, and it's also in pretty high demand. The pros are that it's ultra central. You'll be in the middle of the action. You have a lot of architectural charm, beautiful buildings. It is a very strong Parisian vibe. And you have pretty good amenities, lots of cafes. There is culture on your doorstep. The cons are that you do pay for location. It is a little more expensive given what you get because of where it is. So that means you have probably smaller apartments in older buildings, less space, less amenities in your actual apartment. And also tourism is an issue. Tourism and traffic may affect your kind of day-to-day piece. The bottom line is that if you want to live in Paris proper and you love being central and don't mind paying for it, Les Marais could be right for you. In terms of Montmartre, it is a very artistic, hilly neighborhood. It has a lot of bohemian flair. The Sacré-Cœur Cathedral is there, and the views of it are everywhere, so it's gorgeous. It has a very distinctive atmosphere with streets that have a lot of character, really good views. It's a little more affordable than the more ultra-premium central spots, and it's kind of a good mix of transportation options plus culture. The cons are that the demand is pretty high, so you also make some trade-offs in terms of size and location and the condition of the building. Also, the hilly terrain could be a problem. If mobility is an issue for you, it's probably not the best place because it is a very hilly part of town, and some of it is just really wicked. Even if you're fully able-bodied and can walk up and down, it can be a bit tricky to get around. So consider that if you have any mobility challenges or small children that you want to be dragging up and down a hill all day. And it's also a little bit further away from some of the business districts, depending on what your specific job and commute is. So my bottom line on Montmartre is that if you want an iconic Paris neighborhood with a lot of vibe, and you can accept maybe slightly less luxury or space, and you can deal with the hills, it could be the right place for you. Moving on to Belleville, it is an up-and-coming multicultural area. There's tons of creative energy, and it is the more affordable edge of central Paris. So the pros are that you have a lot more value for your money than in the super premium, super central spots. There's tons of cultural diversity. It's a very lively scene in general, lots of great restaurants and other versions of local flavor. And you have good transport links because you're still in Paris proper, so you're right on the metro and the bus lines. It's pretty easy to get in and out. The cons are that you may have some trade-offs in terms of the condition of the building, the finish quality, or just the size. Belleville is also slightly further from the ultra-central landmarks and the business hubs, but it is still Paris. And depending on your exact block, one other thing to consider is that it could be noisier and less posh, which is an understatement. There are parts of the 20th that are known as pretty dangerous or have a very questionable reputation, at least. So you really do need to look around a neighborhood or talk to someone who lives nearby or can at least go tour for you if you can't do it yourself. If you have to have some local friend go and visit a place for you, that might be helpful. So my bottom line on Belleville is that it might be right for you if you want something in Paris proper, but maybe a little farther away from the center of the action and more budget friendly, and you are comfortable with and value cultural diversity over an ultra luxury type of an experience. Belleville is not ultra luxury. Of course, the Champs-Élysées really needs no introduction. It is known as ultra luxury. It is an iconic Paris address. It is the epitome of high-end Parisian living. You get a prestige address. It is the so-called right spot for luxury travelers or long-term stays. It has excellent transportation, services, and a cultural profile. And if you're an investor and can afford to buy there, you're going to get probably the highest rental value for your investment if you can buy something in the Champs-Élysées. The cons are that it is very expensive compared to other spots, and as much as I love to visit, it does have less of a neighborhood feel. It is more of a tourist/investor zone. And you're definitely going to sacrifice affordability and space to live in this area. My bottom line on the Champs-Élysées is that if you have a higher budget and want a prestige address and you're okay paying for location as much as space, then, check it out and invite me over sometime for a drink because I'd love to see your spot. Boulogne-Billancourt specifically is an upscale suburb, and the 16th in general is really nice. It's just outside of central Paris, but it's much more quote-unquote family-friendly, and it's definitely calmer than living in the heart of the city. You have more space, it's a calmer neighborhood. It's really good for families, or if you want a little bit more of a suburban feel, but you still want to be close. It has great transport links into Paris proper. It's kind of an affluent environment, which means it has good amenities, really good restaurants, shopping, all the basics you need to, markets, marchés, everything. The cons are that it is slightly further from central Paris, so if you want to be in the thick of things, it's not really the space for you. Also, it doesn't really have that iconic Paris apartment feel compared to some of the older buildings in the center of the city. It does have some older buildings, but it's not the same. You also have a lot of modern construction, and it's great looking. It's cool. I mean, this is Paris after all, but it doesn't look like what you think of if your version of Paris is watching, Emily in Paris. And one other wrinkle is that the transportation time you will need to commute into Paris, if your job is in the center of Paris and you live in the 16th, you really need to factor that in and make sure that it's going to work for you. My bottom line about Boulogne-Billancourt is that if you're relocating with a family and you value quiet, space, a really good neighborhood, and you're okay with doing some transit time into and back from central Paris, then this is a place you should check out. And lastly for now, my home, Joinville-le-Pont in the Val-de-Marne suburbs. This is very much a homey home type of a neighborhood. We're outside of Paris proper. It's more relaxed. It has a local feel to it. It's very commuter friendly. So the pros are that it is a much better value for your money. You get a larger space for the same or even less budget compared to what you might pay in very central Paris. It has a quieter residential feel. It is really nicely suited for family life or a less transient lifestyle. Maybe you're retired, but you want to be near Paris, but not in Paris, or you can't afford to be where you want to be in Paris. You could probably afford it here where I live, which is why we live here. It is also really great for just getting out of the immediate chaos of the city, although maybe you need to work there, maybe you like to visit, you want to travel to and from, and through via central Paris. This is a good place to call home if you want to use Paris for what Paris is awesome for, but you don't want to live in it all the time. The cons are that the commute into central Paris is a little longer than if you're inside the ring, of course, and it does feel less Paris iconic than many of these other neighborhoods we've looked at. It has a big variety of architecture and it's very pretty, but it's not Paris apartment buildings over here. It has fewer ultra luxury amenities. It has much more standard sort of things, and it has nice older homes, and we're surrounded by them in this part of this neighborhood that we're in. But, it's not what you think of when you think of Paris, in quotes, right? So my bottom line about Joinville-le-Pont and other similar suburbs like this that are around Paris is that if you value space and quiet and the commute works for you in your life and you're okay not being in the absolute white hot heat center of things in Paris proper, you really should look in an area like where we live. Okay, so that's 6 different places, 6 different vibes, and 6 different sets of price ranges. What I hope you noticed as we went through these different sites is you see that outside the high and the low, there's a lot in the middle. So even the fancy neighborhoods have some affordable places. Even the affordable neighborhoods have a few fancy places. And there's a lot of stuff in between. So if you get online, spend some time, these sites will become your best friends. You will know these as well as you know the Google search bar or any other tool you use all the time if you're looking for a place in Paris. I think you just need to really dedicate a lot of time, look around, Google image search different locations, ask people like us who have lived and worked and traveled in these different areas, and we'll do our best to help you as always. But really, just get ready for some serious locked-in internet search time, and make sure that you got some comfortable clothes when you do it, because you're going to be sitting here for a long time to do this for yourself. Okay, that's all for today. I hope you found this overview helpful. Please give us a like if so, and that will encourage me to keep on going with this for you. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you want to learn more about the process of renting in Paris. Our next video is all about the guarantee process, what it is, what you have to do to satisfy the requirements, how you can work around those requirements to some degree if you don't exactly fit them, and more. And if you haven't seen it yet, be sure to check out our last video right here, which is all about the elements of what you need for the rental dossier, of which the guarantee is one part of it. Thank you for watching as always. Susie and I really appreciate it. Hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next time.